Today's message or today's talk will be on God's foreknowledge. Yes, I've learned something about God's foreknowledge, and if you want to know about God's foreknowledge, you can read in the Bible. And as you can see, I have on a shirt. I'm not out here, shirtless. And it says, I'm a son of God. Okay? I'm a son of God. The only way I could possibly be a son of God would be by the will of God. But right now, we're thinking about God's foreknowledge. And if you have a Bible, you can open it to Genesis. And in Genesis, you will see that God has some foreknowledge, especially concerning trees in the garden. There is a tree in the garden that if it's eaten from, or if Adam eats from it, it will lead to his death. It won't kill him instantly. It's not, poisonous. The fruit can be eaten, and it will, by God's foreknowledge, lead to death for Adam. Now, some more foreknowledge of God. If you read, you will see that God did not have foreknowledge as to the names of the animals. Adam named the animals for God. Adam was very good at doing what God, wanted him to do. He was the best at it for a while that there ever was, because he was the only man that there was for quite a while. He was a man for a while before there was a woman. And somebody said, well, there was a woman. Yeah, there was a woman. Where was the woman? God hadn't seen one until he made one. He had only seen Adam. After God put Adam to sleep and, got a woman for him, then God saw a woman. The first woman that God saw was Eve. The rest of the women that God has seen have, grown up from babies. That's just how that works. And God has seen a lot of girls grow up, as well as, boys. But now back to the foreknowledge. God's foreknowledge. The next foreknowledge that you will see that God has foreknowledge of is that Eve is going to have pain when she gives birth to children. She has not had a child. She has never talked to anyone that had a child. She didn't know anything about having children. But she was going to have children, and she was going to have pain. God's foreknowledge. God had foreknowledge, and he let her know that even after the pain, she would love Adam. And she did. There's no indication that Eve ever loved any man other than Adam. There's just not. I mean, there are probably some people that will speculate and come up with all kind of ideas, that Eve had several lovers. No, Eve only knew one man. She didn't run around on him. And he didn't run around on her. So there you go. Now for some more foreknowledge. The next foreknowledge that I see in the book is God tells Noah and gives him some foreknowledge about a flood and some death, a lot of death. God had foreknowledge. God did not have foreknowledge of this when he was talking to Adam and Eve, in the garden. God had no foreknowledge of a flood. And I'm sure that somebody will say, oh, yes, he did. Well, say it. I said he didn't. Da, da, da. I'm a son of God by the will of God. God told Noah to build a boat. And God told Noah how big to build it. And he built it. At which time, after he had built it, if you read, you can see that the earth flooded. The waters rose. It was deep. It was for so many days. And then God dried up the water. Then God blessed Noah and his family after the flood. He does not have knowledge about what's fixing to go on after he blesses them. But he's going to watch over them and see what they're doing. They were doing just what he told them to do. Populate the earth or replenish it. Have children. Do what you want to do. The earth is yours. I've given it to you. Everything. The devil owns nothing. Absolutely nothing. And God never gives the devil anything. So I don't know where people get the idea that God gave the devil something. God has never given the devil anything. I just thought I'd throw that in. Now we're going to get to some more foreknowledge. Foreknowledge. God sees that they are building a city, and they're building it high, and they're expecting it to reach into heaven. And God got knowledge of it. He found out about it. He came down and, made some adjustments and scattered people all over the earth and gave them all languages and took care of them. Every nation that came, on the face of the earth came from that city years ago. The next foreknowledge that you see is God has knowledge that there's some land that he wants to give to a man, so he tells him to leave his country and come out, and he showed it to him. So God had foreknowledge of that land. Yes, he did. Now God also had some foreknowledge about his children, because God decided that this man at the age of 99 would have a son and name him Isaac. Yep. So he told him that your wife will have a son, and you will name him Isaac. And God has some more foreknowledge. You can call it foreknowledge or wisdom to say something and bring it to pass. He told him about his offspring, that they would be in prison, enslaved to a people for 400 years, and then that the nation would be judged. That's God's foreknowledge. That's God's wisdom. That's God's speaking and letting people know what is going to take place in the future. Foreknowledge. God had foreknowledge and made it known. And he also told him, this man, about kings that would come forth from him. Yes, God did. That's God's foreknowledge. And after he had said it, it's going to come to pass. So if you want to know about some more of God's foreknowledge, you might want to read over into the book of Acts about a kingdom and a king and a time when the king will rule. That's God's foreknowledge. He said it by his own authority. And I'm looking forward, to the time that the king that God has, said will rule, rules. Yes, I am. And there was another man later, after that day, he got some foreknowledge that some saints were going to rule the earth with Jesus Christ. And they would judge angels. Yep, that's a lot of foreknowledge. Yep, sure is. God has foreknowledge. Does that mean God knew that he was going to have to kill everybody on the earth with a flood? No, that was not foreknowledge. God came to that conclusion after he had, gotten to the point that he was grieved in his own heart that he had made man. I hope you have enjoyed this video on foreknowledge. God does not have foreknowledge, and he did not have, 25 years of foreknowledge to the shooting that went on in the school in Texas today. God found out that the boy had killed some people after the fact. It wasn't God's plan. He hadn't foreknowledged it. Thank you for watching this video. Share it with your friends if you like it. I'll say thank you again. And I am Bob McGee, and I live in my Father's house. Yep, that's it for today. Hope you enjoyed it.